But above all that philosophical stuff is a doer. So we're so grateful that within this community we have folks that not only understand these concepts, but more importantly are doing really big things about them. So on top of being a blockchain enthusiast, he's also involved in the People's Rights Organization, which is Eamon Bundy's outfit. There's a lot of overlap between the Freedom Cell Network and the People's Rights Organization. We'd love to bring Eamon onto this stage. That sure would be cool. They're doing a lot of stuff in the realm of mutual aid. And one of the big projects that Colin is working on is called Presearch, right? So even in our community, when we want to tell someone to go learn about something, people often say, Google it. It's like its own term now. Try my best to say, go search it or look it up, right? DuckDuckGo really sucks, actually. That's an alternative, owned by Microsoft, I should say. Yeah. But Colin's working on a new search engine called Presearch, and it's blockchain-based, and it's not co-opted by Bill Gates. It's not Alphabet Incorporated. So we're going to learn all about what he has to offer the world, and we're so excited to have him as part of the greater reset. So let's take it away to Colin Pape. Hey, Colin, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor. Awesome. And especially to be following up after Ernie. What an amazing guy. We are so lucky to have him driving things forward, and all the amazing initiatives that he's taken on with Freedom's Phoenix and everything else, especially this Pirate Box project. Pretty exciting stuff. So yeah, here to talk a little bit about the future of search being decentralized, and going to go ahead and get started on a presentation here. So as you probably know, search engines are super important. They are the gateway to the open web, and it makes search an incredibly powerful utility. And of course, it's really the #1 activity. If you go on to similarweb.com and look to see which website has the most traffic in the world, it is google.com. And obviously, search engines help us out immensely, helping us find all the information that we need. And there's really, you know, just this plethora of information, especially in 2021, millions and millions of websites, billions of web pages, and there needs to be kind of some way to make sense of that. Otherwise, all this content would be kind of inaccessible and undiscoverable. So really, if you think about search engines, they're kind of like explorers. They're kind of going out to all the corners of the web, looking for information, helping to make sense of it, and then returning it so that when we type something in, you know, this super complicated process that has happened on the back end returns us kind of a really simple interface with the results that are relevant to what we're looking for. And so really, you know, they have become these guides that we ask our most kind of intimate, private questions to. I heard at one point somebody said that, you know, search engines are the new, you know, priest in the confession box, if you think of it that way. You know, we're asking health questions, we're asking personal questions, and there's just so much information, right? And it's something that kind of through their algorithms, the search engines are able to actually really determine definitely what we're seeing in the results, but also with things like autocomplete, they're actually leading us to the questions that we might ask, as well as obviously kind of what we might even think. You may have seen some of the examples when you're typing something in and it seems like a really weird suggestion. That is influencing what people are looking for, and the results obviously that they find. And so it's a huge responsibility, definitely one that brings tremendous power and influence, and yet lots of us are just not even thinking about kind of what's happening behind the scenes, and, you know, are these people who are coding these algorithms and the people that are running these organizations, are they aligned with us? Are they giving us the best guidance? Are they steering us in a direction as humanity that we should be going in? And it's something that I've given a lot of thought to, and I don't think that any single search engine should have this ability to really dominate the space in the way that Google has. As many of you know, for a lot of people, Google is equated with search. Like you were just saying, it's Google it has become kind of how people refer to search now, and that's actually become kind of a challenge. And so we were just talking about the power of search, and that's really one thing. But then we've got this centralization issue with Google in particular, having more than 90% of the search market space, especially between Google and YouTube. It's actually higher than that. They've got, basically the #1, and now YouTube has become kind of the #2 search engine in the world. A lot of people use use YouTube like they use search engines. They know that they want something, they want to find a video result, and so they go to YouTube. And so that puts them in this incredible position of power. Not only do they have the 2 top search engines, they've also got the #1 email service. Google has the #1 mapping service, #1 mobile operating system, #1 web browser, #1 ad platform, and there are other things as well that they control. And so really what we've done is we've kind of had this single entity that has an effective monopoly on the internet. They control the flow and the discovery of the information. They can block us, they can censor us, they can promote whichever content they wish. And so that is obviously a huge challenge, especially when some of us have been realizing that maybe Google isn't this kind of quirky, friendly academic research project that they've portrayed themselves to be, with the multicolored logo and the kind of goofiness and the origin story, coming from Stanford University. So it's as you start to see that maybe you're not necessarily on the same page, it becomes potentially a greater kind of risk and of concern. And really, it's like our entire planet. We have put so much trust in this single company, and there's really not a whole lot of accountability. They've kind of formally resigned, but up until a year or so ago, the founders of Google hadn't even bothered to show up at their annual shareholder meetings for the past 3 years. So there's really, not even really an opportunity for their shareholders to hold them accountable, let alone the general public. And with the ties that they have to different kind of shadow organizations like the NSA and the CIA, you just start to wonder, like, kind of what's going on under the hood. And obviously it's concerning for a lot of people, particularly this community and probably yourselves. And so really, I mean, that being said, like, what could go wrong? I mean, obviously censorship, that's one of the biggest things. It's kind of the origin story for Presearch. We had a bunch of websites that got blocked by Google. They were penalized and put onto page 8, even though we had really rich, relevant content, and we had relationships with local prominent authorities and stakeholders that were helping us promote these sites. And we woke up one day and found ourselves on page 8. And that really kind of got the wheels turning and made us realize just how much market power this one entity had when our traffic dropped 80% overnight. Unfortunately, many people in the freedom and liberty movement have seen this firsthand. Deplatforming, people are getting kicked off of YouTube, people are having their accounts shut down, and they're being forced off of these platforms that have had kind of dominant and favorable positions within Google search results. If your content's on YouTube, it's going to show up above content that's on BitChute or content that's on Odyssey, because they're fully integrated. We've seen it especially this year with the COVID fiasco, all the little labels, and where they're putting warnings and things about controversial information, and they're promoting certain information that is aligned with their beliefs. And then we see actually, there's been a lot of these kind of examples of them removing different subjects from auto-suggest results, and you can do like comparisons between them and, let's say, DuckDuckGo or other search engines, and they're like completely different. And so there's this ability, again, to really kind of influence the information that we have access to. Of course, this one, is something that firsthand experience with limiting competition. So they do have the ability to basically determine really what other players, what other resources are available on the internet, because they can limit the success of different projects. And that's a huge risk for anybody trying to publish content or run any kind of online business. I'm sure many of you know and have experienced it also. So they kind of have this ability to just continue promoting their own properties and doing it to the detriment of everybody else. And then when you do start factoring in all the other things that they control, like in particular Gmail, because email still is really one of the top communication mechanisms. It's still kind of one of the more open platforms. Yet now Gmail has more than 65% market share. And I don't know if any of you have experienced what it's like sometimes trying to get through Google's filters, where they're pushing you into spam or they're pushing you into the promotions folder. But they can very easily throttle competition that way as well through their other properties. And what we discovered kind of through our experience with Google back in 2011 was like how many thousands of competitors either never started or never got off the ground because they realized it's almost impossible to compete against these guys. And what potential has been limited from the earth by having all these different entrepreneurs with different viewpoints and different interfaces and different data models that they might bring to the table that might have brought real value to our lives and maybe been more aligned with our values as free humans. But they just never really had an opportunity to get going because, Google dominated the marketplace so much. So that's kind of, a real shame potentially. Of course, spying and tracking. Your searches are tracked by default. Some of you may have gone in and seen your Google history at some point, and it's like the creepiest thing ever. Specifically, if you look at the location history under Google Maps, you see that they, even sometimes when it's been turned off, they're following you everywhere, and they are tracking your location everywhere. That is, definitely not conducive to a free and private human being. And then they have all this information from these different properties that they can combine to build a profile on you, which enables them to do ad targeting at kind of a surface level. But I think many of us are questioning what other kind of targeting are they doing? Are they putting people on red flag lists? Are there other things that are being done? And how easy would it be for that to happen with the technology and the market presence that they have? It's not just on Google, obviously, and even those prominent services that are kind of front ends that you see, but now they've got the Google login embedded just about everywhere, this AMP, Accelerated Mobile Publishing Platform, which enables all the news websites to have faster results, but, requires them to basically be served through Google. AdSense and DoubleClick are installed as widgets on basically, every content website out there. Then you have Google Analytics kind of behind the scenes that are always kind of tracking everything as well. So it is at this point just about impossible to avoid, and we really don't know what is actually being done with that information. And then, of course, kind of a hot button subject over the past couple years and specifically the past year, the promotion of biased agendas. They tout the mainstream narratives. They take positions on ideological subjects. They, slam one group of people. They promote another. Different politicians. We certainly saw that with the 2020 elections. And, they're constantly raising awareness about their favored issues and then suppressing the dissenting voices. So it, really has kind of set us up in this environment where we're actually working against ourselves, working against our own best interests by supporting this company and supporting all the tentacles. But they're so deeply entrenched, it's tough to avoid. And so, looking at like, what can we do about that? How can we possibly come up with some different solutions to that? And how can we kind of band together and get behind different platforms that are taking a stand, that share our principles, and are trying to actually promote freedom and liberty rather than, you know, this kind of dystopian police state social credit system future that is on the horizon, approaching very quickly. If not, I think in this past year, been proven it's already here. So, you know, what can we do? You know, can feel daunting, definitely, but change is possible. If you haven't had a chance yet, you can go on Reddit. There's a community called DGoogle. It's kind of a movement that's starting to build. You can pre-search that, or DuckDuckGo it, or Google it if you want. But you'll find that there are millions of people that are actively taking steps to remove Google services from their phones, switching to alternatives. And it's pretty cool that there's this growing awareness that's happening, and gives me hope and confidence for the future, not just for myself and all of us, but, you know, the children of the future, that, you know, people are waking up, and hopefully that's accelerating. So then, you know, how do you take action? Well, in this case, and, you know, this is going to be a bit of a biased presentation. I hope that's okay. But obviously, a number of different search engines that you can switch to. DuckDuckGo, they've got about 1.5% market share, which is kind of the biggest of the alternative search engines. They've done, you know, a good job of getting out there and hopefully offering private search. But it is true that they are powered by Bing, and they were funded by one of the most prominent venture capitalists in the world that has ties to a whole bunch of other organizations. You know, they're funded by large private equity groups. And so, you know, there's other things that are kind of at play there besides just, you know, the search engine. There are other ones that are, you know, maybe more benign, things like Ecosia, which is a pretty cool service. You know, they take a portion of their advertising revenue, and then they use it to plant trees. It's a pretty popular service, and seems like they've got a pretty cool and open ethos. But again, also powered by Bing and using the Bing API. You know, kind of hard to know exactly what's happening there. Search engines like Startpage, which is a privacy search engine, and you know, seems to have a decent reputation. But really, where we think that the future is going is decentralized search. And so with Presearch, which is a project that I started in 2017, we're trying to really bring this new model of search to the web. So as far as like, what does that mean? What is a decentralized search engine? It's grassroots, it's ground up, it's built by and for the community. We use user nodes to power the search results. It integrates blockchain technology, cryptocurrency to reward and engage the community. We have community members that are curating results, advertising platform without really compromise, and facilitating search choice, and then respecting privacy with no tracking. That's kind of, you know, where we're at now, and kind of the next phase. Eventually, you know, where this could go is being like a totally kind of immutable and uncensorable service, something that's accessed through things like unstoppable domains or EDNS, ENS, starting to really just, you know, overcome some of those choke points that exist just on the general internet. Now, the thing about a search engine right now is that all the content itself is still kind of subject to all those things, and so that's why things like the Pirate Box project are so important, because it's taking, you know, copies of this kind of regular web content and putting it onto the IPFS system, which then becomes a lot more resilient and redundant and potentially accessible if, you know, the traditional internet starts having clampdowns or different, you know, types of blockages. So there's some limitations right now. There isn't really, like, in my view, the ability to do like a peer-to-peer search engine just yet. They actually do exist. There's one called Yacy, Y-A-C-Y, that's been around for quite a long time, and it's peer-to-peer, and it's kind of cool technology, but because the content isn't there, it's really kind of limited in its functionality. So most people aren't really able to actually use it. It's kind of more of a proof of concept, but things like that are coming, and that's going to be super cool. So as far as like how are we driven by grassroots community, we're definitely not located in Silicon Valley or really any one particular place. We have a distributed team, a distributed community. We're all over the place. We're not funneling billions and billions of dollars every year into Mountain View, California, let's say. We're not funded by venture capital. We have no outside investors. Basically, the project was kind of bootstrapped from the community. It was crowdfunded. People bought tokens that they could utilize within the system. And that has maintained the alignment within the project. We're highly accessible. We're in frequent communication with the community, primarily through Telegram. If anybody here ever wants to reach me, I'm just Colin Pape, Colin Pape is my username on Telegram. You can message me. We've got t.me/Presearch is our main community, and we've always got people there. And we're taking feedback, we're taking criticism, we're really kind of involved and connected to the community, not kind of hiding in this ivory tower like a lot of other search engines. And so right now, because we're still a little bit in the early days of the project, we're kind of on the path to community governance. We're not there yet, but we're learning from all the great things that are happening within the blockchain space, and we envision a future where it is fully governed by the community, which is really exciting. As far as how the search nodes work, so this is basically using decentralized infrastructure. We're leveraging the computing resources that are provided by community members. It handles search queries right now. We're currently basically operating like a meta search engine. So, a query comes in, and then we're hitting all these different search engines. We're hitting databases, APIs, and then kind of recombining that information under our own algorithm. In the future, we'll be incorporating our own fully decentralized index that is curated by the community that kind of layers on top of it. And basically the approach that we're taking is, leveraging these third-party services anonymously on behalf of all the users in order to handle kind of the long tail of search, which is really the big challenge. You get all these really random queries, you got to have answers, and it's a pretty daunting challenge. So as a query comes in, it basically gets anonymized by what we call a node gateway. It then distributes the queries out to a bunch of nodes. Kind of the winning node basically has gone and got the anonymized query results. It sends it back, and then a reward is provided in the form of a pre-token to the node operator. And there's an opportunity to stake, which can increase the node rewards. They do obviously participate in improving the platform. We've got about 2,500 node operators, a little more than that, in our Telegram community right now. And we're working with them all the time to improve the service. And then they really do kind of ultimately serve as a bit of a check and balance against decisions that the community doesn't support. If, let's say a dumb decision was made while we're not, in full community governance mode and the node operators didn't support it, they can pull their service, and then, that becomes a huge challenge. And so there's kind of this way to hold the project accountable, which is important. Obviously, it uses blockchain and crypto. So right now we're leveraging the pre-token to basically align the interests of searchers, node operators, the initial crowdfunders, our team members, all the promoters. So everybody's kind of aligned around the same unit of value. It's not like we've got, people that have equity investments, people that are just trying to, leverage the system to data mine and abuse the users. It kind of really brings everybody together, which is, I think, the real beauty of using a blockchain token within an ecosystem. The rewards are provided to really incentivize the different actions to stimulate growth of the ecosystem. And then as we go, we'll be leveraging blockchain more for the community governance side of things, and then also for the search results. So right now, it's more of, a traditional database system, primarily due to, speed and cost issues. But we see in the future, as different blockchains evolve, that there is potential to have this information in a blockchain, which is then openly able to be accessed and explored by anybody. and you can start to then really kind of dive under the hood and see how things are working, see, you know, who has been curating results, who's been voting for things, what else have they been voting for, and just start really kind of building more of a holistic viewpoint on, you know, what's influencing different factors in the system, which right now is totally impossible with traditional search engines. It's just a total black box. And then, you know, the kind of next step for us is full Web3 wallet integration and leveraging different blockchains to access the pre-token. And then what that's going to open up ultimately is the ability to have the ability to earn rewards without actually logging in with an email address, which is the current way that it's done. And it's kind of the more user-friendly way right now. But eventually it'll be, you know, that much more anonymous, that much more private. I mean, you can use an anonymous email right now and nobody knows anything about anybody, and that's the way to do it if you're looking for total anonymity within Presearch, although you can also use it without logging in, and that's even more anonymous. But ultimately after that, you know, Web3 wallet, and then it's 100% in your control and totally anonymous. As far as how we envisioning the community curating results, this is we're targeting a mainnet launch in early fall that is powered by the user nodes, and then after that, we're really moving on to this you know, decentralized index and the ability for community members to suggest results, to vote on results, and help to determine really what is relevant, how it should rank. And then kind of next step beyond that is actually enabling different participants in the ecosystem to, you know, use different algorithms and different data models, contribute different UIs, help, you know, adjust ranking factors to improve performance, and then of course be compensated for what they've done to improve the system. And then ultimately, you know, the blockchain obviously has the ability to protect against abuse and bias. And that's really kind of where we see the community members coming in to, you know, again, hold the system accountable, ensure that it doesn't get overrun, and help develop any new mechanisms that are needed to kind of, you know, constantly stay ahead of the curve, because that's obviously a big challenge. The whole ecosystem is always evolving, and it's kind of a bit of a game of cat and mouse when you have people that are trying to abuse the system. As far as like how it's all kind of tied together from an economic standpoint, we have an advertising platform that we call keyword staking. Was speaking with the people who are producing the video backstage before I came on, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're actually keyword staking the term New World Order." So I will encourage everybody to go and pre-search New World Order, and then look at the very top result, and then give their link a click. It will take you over to grandtheftworld.com, which has some pretty cool content on it. But that's a good example of how it works. And so people basically take their pre-tokens, they stake them against a keyword. That enables their ad to be displayed. Whoever has the most pre-tokens against a given keyword gets their ad shown. And kind of as that, you know, happens, it's creating demand for the tokens that we're issuing as rewards to the node operators, to the searchers. And so that's really what kind of closes the loop on the token ecosystem. And again, what's beautiful is it keeps us all in alignment. We have everybody kind of acting more in the best interests of the system, because they've kind of got two different things that they're trying to maintain. One is, okay, yes, I want the traffic of my keyword stake, but I'm also trying to ensure that the value of pre-tokens doesn't decrease because I'm abusing the system. And so you've kind of got this interesting kind of commons model where we have these multiple incentives to keep people aligned, which I'm really excited about. And what is cool as well is unlike traditional advertising, which is just seen as kind of a nuisance because the user really doesn't benefit from advertising at all. It's so disconnected. I mean, the profit that's generated from advertising, it goes to, at most, you know, the shareholders, but really it's often just getting dumped into profits that are like sitting in an offshore account in Ireland or something. And so there's really kind of no incentive. But in this case, what we found is that a lot of the users are like, yeah, awesome, that person is keyword staking. They bought pre-tokens. They've created demand for tokens that I also am earning and hold. And so we're kind of tying all those different groups together and helping them to kind of move in alignment rather than be at odds with each other as they are in other systems. So that's pretty cool, I think. Obviously, from a decentralization standpoint, we want to facilitate search choice. So, we see Presearch as being a bit of a layer that can actually just facilitate all these different search engines and enable people to easily direct their query into any of these different engines, preserve their actual user experience, and help those resources get traffic. And there's some really awesome new decentralized content sites, for instance, that people can search through. And, we're excited to bring traffic to all those different entities and try to get connected with them and help them get more exposure. There's more than 100 different search engines you can choose from right now in the current UI. And we're trying to make it really easy so that you basically have like a federated search field, and then wherever you want to direct your query, you just click the link, it sends you out, and you've now got time and convenience on your side. You can customize it to your liking, lots of different ways that you can choose different options and adjust your settings. There's a dark mode, light mode. There are apps and browser extensions as well, just trying to make it as easy as possible. And then something that is really exciting is that we have these open source community packages. So if you go onto our GitHub, github.com/presearchofficial, you'll see community packages. And anybody who knows HTML, JavaScript, they can basically build like kind of a knowledge panel that goes at the top of the search results that can get triggered by a different query. And so that is going to enable us to override some of the bias that might still be found from some of the results that we're pulling until we have 100% full independent decentralized index. But it's a way for the community to basically participate and help to build out the features that they want to see and also to be rewarded for doing that work. So excited about that. And then, of course, respecting your privacy, not tracking you. We don't store your searches. We anonymize your queries. We distribute those automatically, so it's not tied to your IP address or anything like that. We don't run any trackers. We don't even have analytics. People say, oh, yeah, what about? We're like, actually, we don't know. We use external services like SimilarWeb to see, like, what does our traffic look like, because we're not running Google Analytics. We're not running any, analytics programs. There's no passive personalization where we're trying to like determine things about you and then serve different results based on things you've clicked on before. There's no profiling going on. Limited data, which is really important in the event of a compromise. There just isn't really anything for people to get, so that's super important. And then no KYC requirements on the reward tokens that we distribute, unlike some other platforms. And that to me is super important. What's the point of having a privacy, search engine, a privacy browser that's rewarding you, but then in order to get access to your rewards, you got to go through full KYC and take a picture of yourself and send your ID. It just doesn't jive. And so we're trying to really do all this without invoking any of those privacy infringing moments kind of behind the scenes that people might not even realize until it's kind of at the end when they're trying to actually get their rewards. And of course, high quality results. That's the end of the day. Super grateful to all of you who are already using Presearch, as well as those who are going to give it a try. Trying to just make it so that it's usable. It's definitely, it's not going to be as quick as Google, let's say. Because we're doing it in a decentralized way. We're distributing those queries out to nodes around the world. But the actual result quality, we've had a lot of really positive feedback on. The UI, a lot of people have liked. And again, so what you're looking at right now with this Bitcoin community package is the ability for community members all over the place to build all these different UIs that could end up making the results on Presearch actually better than on other search engines, because, you know, we could have tens of thousands of community members all building cool little widgets that you know, they really deeply understand because they are power users or they're, you know, enthusiasts around a certain thing, and we could end up with some incredible results that rival the best in the world. So appreciate your feedback, and everybody who's already supported us, thank you so much. And again, anybody who wants to get in touch, hit me up on Telegram. That's the best way to get in touch. For now, how to get started, you can go to presearch.org. If you want to earn rewards, you can go and you can create an account. That enables you to start accumulating pre when you search. There's a browser extension if you just go to presearch.org/extensions. It works on Firefox, Chrome, and Brave currently. There's also an app on iOS that's new. It's a browser. We've essentially you know, forked one of the leading privacy browsers and built a Presearch version. So appreciate anybody's thoughts and feedback on that, because it's brand new. We've got an Android version that will be out in the next month or so. You could also start running a node if you're interested. You want to earn some rewards that way, as well as just support the decentralized ecosystem. You can just go to nodes.presearch.org. And then if you do have something that you want to promote, you can go to keywords.presearch.org and you can run a keyword staking ad. So that's about it for me. Again, really appreciate everybody's support, everybody's feedback. If there's anything that we can do, I mean, we're trying to find all the people in the space that are doing amazing things and trying to, you know, redistribute some of the income that we're bringing in to, you know, projects that are values aligned, and really just trying to, you know, build a better world like all of you, that's built on the principles of freedom and combining a couple of things there, liberty and voluntarism, and, you know, just really trying to get connected with all the amazing people like the organizers of this great conference who are helping to change the world. So thanks again. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thanks, John.
Awesome. Woo! Give it up! Give it up!
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Colin, for that amazing presentation. We appreciate you and the work that you're doing. And once again, folks, it's always like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, although maybe a greater reaction. And that's what it's all about. And that's what the Greater Reset is all about. It's about building. It's about creating. It's not about fighting or screaming or shouting or storming government buildings.